Well, collective, I hope you're all having a good day. Um, it's June 18th, Tuesday, 2024. I didn't really put a time start on this one, but so this one's going to be more of a pivot um, into what I've been talking about, but it's obviously going to go along with what I've been talking about. But today, there was so much going on energetically. But the theme, for today was, don't get offended. And that's just something that I've been seeing. And I try not to overthink these things because, like, obviously, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to exercise the don't get offended thing. Just because people really tried that with me. And, I don't, after it's happened so many times, it's like we already know that I don't do that. Um, because the things, some of them just seem really petty, but but I was around the energy of a young lady who um, was getting offended by a new employee that's supposed to be coming in, and there's that a new employee is a younger individual, but the thing to see was I'm hearing the current employee just gossiping and freaking out kind of, and it makes I did this before, but it wasn't like, for me it was more of, I had a intuitive feeling that that individual was going to replace me, because that was a pattern I recognized way early on, when I started working in the workforce. And so it's like, when change would happen, like, I knew I was about to be, I was just there to train the next one, and then it was like, good luck, and so that, after going through that so many times, it's like, it obviously bothered me. And instead of me getting all bent up about it, I actually did something about it. um and it was, and that happens to a lot of veterans. So a lot of my work was with the veterans, and some of the other programs, and creating a new program during 2022, when I was going through some personal things, after exiting the service. And so it was um, it was just kind of like an end cycle to, this has happened to you so many times, but no one was ever there to really tell me. um, through a lot of this stuff, I just, either I knew it, so I learned from a young age, you got to look within. But getting back to what I was originally saying, I was around the energy of a young female who was getting offended by this other younger female that's going to soon be working in this um, place of employment. And you know I it I almost didn't want to be in that area when that conversation was being had, because of my ADHD antennas and all that. But because sometimes when I hear something, I can't unhear it, and it really sucks sometimes. But I've gotten really good at that. But it's still just, I didn't want to be in that energy, and it was a little bit disappointing, because that young female, she's like a very curious, asks a lot of great questions having to do with business, not to me, but just like, this is what I've observed. As wise wiz wise women, we observe. We don't really, you know, um, create chaos. We observe, and so, but this young woman, she's like very self-aware and attentive, she's like the youngest, in her workplace currently, and she has great communication skills, and um, it's just one of those other things where um, it was weird to see it because I've seen it many times, but at this point, my spirituality, my practices, it's, um, it obviously it hits different when you get up, through the levels, but there, it was just like I saw her get worked up, and I haven't ever seen her be worked up, and I mean, I go there pretty often. But she was getting worked up because the new employee that's going to be, I guess, coming in whenever, the younger one, she took initiative and went in and was like, I'm gonna be training here, all these things like that, and um, you know, I was like that at one point, but it wasn't like I was going in there saying, trying to let people know, like, hey, this and that. But there were times in my military career that um, in a certain, well, basically when I got into the more to the infantry brigade, I became more like that, and I really didn't like that part of myself because it was just, I just felt like I shouldn't have had to, coming from an environment where people just intuitively knew, we worked off a lot of intuition, and then going into that environment where I thought a lot of intuition would happen, but it was completely opposite. And um, so I would kind of be a little bit like, this is what we're going to do, and this is my plan, and this is what's going to happen, and da, 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 da. And mainly it was just to train because I kept wanting to train them, um, to a higher standard, and it was like frustrating. And so that's kind of what brought about this whole conversation I was having with myself today, was just it's like when you get those new employees and it comes to leadership, it's like that the younger female, took the initiative and to prepare. It was like, prepare the others. um, I'm coming in, and you know that younger female probably doesn't know, um, that what she had created in the situation. But I consciously would go in and be like, I'm coming in, and this is what, how I do things. But I still wanted to pay respect to how things were done, because I did never like people coming and just completely flipping the whole doggone thing. Because there's 16 different personalities, and there's so much that goes into it on a personal level, and there's different learning styles, and there's just so much, that goes in to one person, that you don't want to be coming in and just making things crazy. And I dealt with that so many times in the military and the civilian side. So it was, uh, I wouldn't want to do that to anyone else, but it was like whenever I would come in, I would be like, this is what we're going to do, and this is where I'm at, so they can already mentally prepare, get it all out, whatever, and kind of come up with a plan, like, this is what we're going to do, like, this is what we want to do, this is kind of what we don't know, can you teach us this, really like collaborate to make that cohesive space. So when I was observing the older female in the situation, it's like she's already getting it all out of her system. But then I started wondering, started asking myself the questions that I used to ask myself. because I got to the point where I'd get really excited for a new soldier or a new employee, because I was like, regardless, this is my this the pattern is going to be that I train them and then I'm gone, and I get to move on, and I try to prepare for that. But ultimately, it was like I would invest so much, I didn't want that to happen. But I got to the point where I just became unbothered by it, and then it was like I ended up getting stuck in places. Then I'm like, okay, so I was supposed to be bothered by it. And it's like life is like that in so many ways. And it can, it's just, it's really, you can really make it really mental, and get yourself in a situation, But even then, I was still able to hold myself, above a situation and look into it, because I've always just led with my heart. I always led with being a leader, and try to have my backbone the best I can, even though a lot of people would have thought I didn't. But I definitely have that backbone. It's just I just don't feel the need to go out there and flex it to everybody, unless it is, I actually don't even put myself around anybody that's putting off that kind of energy where I'd have to do that. But it's just, you know, one of the questions is, when um, you know, uh, when that younger female was like, I'm going to start training, and was talking to the older female, um, it's like she said, I'm going to start training. And then it's like you have to wonder, is like, who's really starts training? Like, is it a trainee sparks that energetic frequency for a company or a workplace? Is it like employees, employees, like plural, like growth season, within the industry growth, or um, in no one ever really looks at it as an energy thing or a frequency thing, but like every company has their growing season. But what usually would happen was, instead of them going within, they'd always outsource and go out. And it's like you have a lot of great people um, within your organization. um, you shouldn't have to go outside of that. And that's kind of the weird thing when it comes to nepotism, because you have to really know like what that looks like. And there's all these things that I see it from such a big scale, and then when I try to like hone it in, it becomes all this uh, all this stuff. And it's like everything really is situational. Like you can't make comparisons, and and spirituality, like comparisons are just, they're not great. They don't do much for you, because it's an individual soul authenticity thing. It's not a, well, how is this one doing or that one doing. It's like you really just have to go within. But that's what makes great leaders is a lot of them will do the self-reflection, but then there's some that they become those people pleasers, and then they end up coming in and just causing a secondary succession that wasn't needed. um, but it's like when you get those new employees, it's like there are so many moments for growth, and that's when you can really see how your existing employees are growing. And I knew that, um, and I've always just, when I did work at a regular workplace, I was just I knew that when new employees came in, that was my moment to really, it's that moment where you get to teach the new. And I've been in a lot of different situations, ones where I'm just teaching the same doggone narrative, ones where I have to make up the narrative, and then ones where I um, you know teach more of a newer way that I had just learned rapidly. And so and then there's some others, um, but there comes a point, where I noticed like the trend in like the soul energy, within with the behaviors. And usually the pattern in like in the situation, or pretty much as follows. Like you get excited for the change, and it's like you kind of forget when you ask for that change, whether consciously or unconsciously. um, you know uh, you ask for it somewhere in your life, but you're not specific. Um, it can happen anytime, anywhere. And um, so it's like you get excited for the change. Like it's like you've been doing the same thing for so long, and you get this new thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like getting a toy on Christmas. And then you stop playing with it. And so it's that's just kind of how I've related it to, because it is really like that for the way that I've seen it. And then and the second thing is, the fear, the false experience appearing real sets in. At the soul level, it's like, am I worthy? And then all the whys come in. And then the third thing that happens, is the defense strategies, like the gossiping, the hazing, the other things, they try to take over. And it's like you're reacting out of your emotions. And um, and then four is like, it's like you're having a past life memory, but you're not conscious of what your soul's doing. And so you're having a past life memory of a learning moment that perhaps did not go very well. So then like the self-doubt comes in, and the unhealed chakra, stuff comes in. And then the fifth thing is like the matrix, the ego mind, the external reality shift. It creates this unconscious, what is my role going to be? Um, Instead of asking yourself, what is my role right now, and what can it be? And um, so it's like you have to really ask yourself, like, when you're excited for the change. For me right now, I'm like, yes, I'm excited for change, because I've just been like that for a long time. And it's like, are you willing to pivot for change? And like I said yesterday, pivot is something we use a lot in the entrepreneurship. But um, when you questions to ask yourself, to take yourself out of the situation, out of the situation, and be above the situation, not in it. Start asking yourself your whys. So like, why does this bother me? Is it my growing season? Is it the company's growing season? Is this a leadership moment for myself? Is this a leadership moment for my leaders, my hierarchy? Why was I presented with the situation? Why can I personally, why can I personally bring my expertise to the situation? And I feel like that's a more stronger question to ask yourself. It's like, why can't I? And then that puts you more in that internal, well, I've seen this, I've done this. And that's a lot of what I do, is like, I know why I can bring, personally bring my expertise into a lot of situations across different industries. Um, because I've always just been able to look within, and I didn't have to say that outwardly, but like I said before, people had me twisted in all kinds of ways because of, their own emotions. And, I've been that one coming in and saying, I'm coming in, and I would do it out of respect most of the time, because I wanted, I didn't want there to be any craziness whenever I get in those situations. And it's like, I really got to see, and this was like very unintentional. It wasn't like I was trying to play mind games with anybody, because that's just not how I am. But I do see how others have consciously tried to play mind games with me, and they didn't get very far. And that's not me trying to flex. It's me just saying, like, I've always asked myself so many questions, because I'm a very curious mind. And being an INFJ, assertive type, uh, it's just I make the boxes, or we just don't use the boxes. But I have been in that gotta follow the rules, safety first, situations, and that should be in any situation. But it's just uh, when people really ask themselves, know thyself, um, and that's like personal leadership, and everyone, um, my algorithm kind of switched a little bit over the course of a couple of days, and it was talking about leadership and how leadership's changing, and I'm like, leadership's always going to be at a soul level, because whenever you are one of those great leaders, and they say leadership's not for everybody, and I'm like, well, it is, because there's different ways we all lead, and there's 16 different personality types, and each one has a type of leader in there. And I'm not saying that's something to be forced, but it's just something that you know everyone just focuses it more on, like, well, how are you going to be a leader for that industry? And it's like no one ever really teaches you, like, how you be a leader for you. And that goes, it's leadership for you is different from being independent for you. And people seem to, I'm like the gap filler when it comes to a lot of questions, and the more deeper ones, because I see the gaps, and it's like everyone just wants to hurry up and put it out. And I sat with this. I thought I was going to write a lot today, but instead it was more of a more writing and meditation and creating the seeds of thought. So when I put out the message, there's going to be a current and across the electromagnetic field that the seeds will be planted, and that will do whatever it needs to do, energetically, throughout the universe, and however that's going to go. But and however you're going to grow with that. But it's just the theme these last couple days, because I was like, what's going on with my algorithm, and I have to go through and like delete things off of watch history, and it's like really annoying. And I'm like, I didn't even watch that video, and it's just like, you know, uh, it's like my algorithm, can get a little more ADHD than I am sometimes, and I'm just like, I don't want that in there. I don't need that on my algorithm. Like, but the theme has been leadership, and so like I was like, well, that's a pivot. It's a pivot from what I've been doing. I mean, I've been doing the same thing, but it's like I'm pivoting. I'm trying to kind of culminate it all, and but it's just very interesting watching, this happen. Um, like I've said, I've seen it many times, but it just hit different. Um, and that doesn't mean I have to go through and see all these other experiences that I've had in the past just to see if it hits different. It's like, believe me, I've gone through and up and down all of them, and those who know me know, and those that are on that brainwave with me, they know. They already know that I've already gone up and down with it, and then there'll become another time where I reevaluate those uh, questions again. But um, looking within hasn't ever been really a hard thing for me, other than just me embracing my shadow side, which was the psychic medium, high medium uh, things, and uh, that was a lot harder. Like I said, coming out as a spiritualist and a practitioner, it was a lot. It was harder coming out that way than it was coming out of the closet. And so, um, but it was just like I really wanted to, let that female know that, you know, uh, ask yourself more like how does this self develop me? Instead of because I mean, she's very put together, and so that just proves that even the most put together individuals can still be shaken by things. Um, and that happens because, I mean, it's happened to me. Um, and it wasn't as extreme as it could have been, but even for someone who asked the, the why me questions and the internal questions, um, and then I noticed there's many that don't. Like, this is like my why. Can I personally bring my expertise, to these new situations? But it's like they're not all necessarily um, new for me, because I've always just had that forward and like this can happen, and not like in a worrisome way, but just like, well, what if? And then I had to learn and teach myself, but not if, when, because clearly it was a thought, and thoughts create energy, and it was going to happen. So it was like that prophetic side of me that I had to, really start honing in more, and taking ownership of those moments I was having. Because it wasn't like I was trying to create those situations. It was like I would get downloads and it would just happen. It was like God, angels, spirit guides, spirit team were just like, hey, boom, here's a hard truth. Sort through that, and then do your due diligence, and then wait. And it was a lot kind of like the military. It was like, sit around, hurry up and wait, and sit around, and like all that. But it was just, I've seen this female go through this, and I was just kind of like, why is she like talking the way she's talking, because she usually doesn't. And I was like, I know that there are people that I was that were in my leadership, mainly in, well, actually it was happening in the civilian and the military, um, when I was phasing out of doing transitions through some of those. And but I know that there was a point, when I was starting to go through my major awakening, that I know there were people that were like, why, um, is she getting like that? Um, because there were things changing, but a lot of them didn't know what I was reading. A lot of them didn't know, my true intentions for change. They knew I could bring it, but they were doing it on their control, under their watch, and really trying to, you know, make things more difficult for me than need be. And I was like, those weren't even my situations. Those are someone else that hadn't been through that yet. And um, then I had someone else in my leadership, that knew, um, more, and uh, it was kind of like, for a while I was kind of like in limbo with a lot of things. And um, it was like I knew that there was at least one that really wanted to tell me, uh, they knew my gifts. And but it was like, I it was like I knew that they knew that, like, it was like all those things, um, and then it went into all the other things, the twin flame stuff and all that. Um, and I also got the opportunity to actually tell that other young lady, you know, like, hey, you're spiritually gifted. So that got to happen today. I was actually very excited that happened. It felt like just a weight off my back. I mean, because like I said, I was very fixated on that, but it was like, I know I planted the seed there, and it was received well, and it was very nice. And all the things that were coming through with it, it dissipated, and there was no need to further that. And it was really nice to, because like I said, I don't have those situations often, But that one was definitely one of the stronger ones, aside from my, twin flame journey. But it was just like, I was present. Um, and the reason why I was really present is because I had a situation this morning, um, where I really just was tired. I really wanted to take a doggone nap. And spirit guides and whatever else came in, and there was a situation where it was trying to get me to get triggered and feel offended. And it was like I just couldn't understand why this one individual just constantly, like, I got all the signals and all the signs, but because I was present for that other female's personal things, which I said I didn't want to be around that, but I was present, and I overheard it. And so then today I was kind of faced with one of the situations. It was like, well, am I getting offended by all this thing? And I was like, at first, yeah, I was kind of like, I was like, well, this is what I do, like, but it wasn't like it was like energy just had to kind of work through, because I'm like, this person that I've tried to be nice to and things like that. Like, it's like, we know that we know that we know, which was a repeating situation, but there was this part where they tried to send a third party in, and I was like, I really just wanted to go to sleep, because that's just where I'm at right now. And the but the situation was really trying to push through me getting offended and reacting, and I was like really just laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is happening, and this is really ridiculous. And I was like kind of just going through this whole journey of things that had happened it was like remembering things, and like, I really should have just walked out that day and just kind of not even listened, but because I care, I stayed to be present and listen, to that female. And even though she wasn't directly talking to me, but it was like, I don't know. It was just one of those weird things that happen. I wasn't looking forward to anything like that in my subconscious to happen, but I was like, I knew something was about to happen. But it was, I kept getting the signs and signals for that situation to occur this morning, but it was just so weird because I'm like, obviously I know, but it was one of those things where I realized it was one of those time travel situations, and whatever timeline, because these timelines, they happen so quickly. Literally I can go to sleep, wake up, and it's like different, and it's just like that. But it was just, I really had to like use my brain to really just hone in and be like, this individual that sent this third party in here, I know that she knows that I know that she knows. And we even had an interaction last night, but not a direct, like, but there was eye contact and signals and a different pattern being made. And I'm just like, I just kept hearing eject, 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 eject. I'm like, okay, prepare for the unexpected. It's like, how do you do that? you just try to stay as calm as you can in the situation, because you don't really know. And like, like I said, there's been all these things have been happening, where I'm like, okay, like I'm I'm ready to eject out of this thing, and go into this newer thing. And I was just there was just so much going on. It was and today was a high energy day. And I was laughing at myself because after that situation happened this morning, um, I went in and I went to the place where I seen this female uh, having her moment. And but the weird thing is like pretty much every single person that works there was there today except that one. And so I found that very interesting. So I'm like, okay, there are even people in there today volunteering their doggone time. And I'm like, this is so familiar because I used to do things like that. And I don't think that's a good thing to do. Like if you're there working, you should um, be on the clock, or get paid for your time. Um, but I get there's like that servant leader part, but this like just don't get yourself trapped in that, becoming a slave to that and just doing that with your time. But I just that was another one of those things where like I used to kind of do that because I needed to get things done, because I was usually the only one doing what I was doing within my field or my realm of knowing in my expertise. Even though I was titled something, I was doing something well above what I was getting paid to do. And so it's like, if the universe can back pay me for that, that would be great, because it was things like that. Um, but eventually that female that was volunteering, that today she eventually clocked in. But it was still just like I was seeing all these things, like past experiences I had, and lessons. It was just kind of like a lot of that was coming out today. But I was like, it was just the one in the morning, because obviously I'm tired. I don't get very good sleep at night, and so I was just kind of a little yeah. But I had this feeling like something's coming. It's coming in so rapidly, and I've been getting that feeling a lot. Um, and I'm like, God hasn't forgotten you. Have faith. And like I tell myself that quite a bit, but sometimes I don't say it out loud. But it's in the heart. It's already in there, and I've always been like that. But it got really scary there for a little bit. But more recently, just the way that events have unfolded, it to me it's very beautiful to see this, because it's like I'm seeing all these things. Like I know that I'm discarding, and the seeds that I've planted and grown within myself have now dispersed. And that is what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing the seeds within myself dispersing, even though I've seen it all over the place, online, and other situations I've been in. But I know that those seeds that I've been growing, and nurturing, and putting so much into, so much time and my own energy, and just my whole angelic vibe into it. When you get to really that level of consciousness, when you can really just, and I've seen this, but I didn't say it like this before. It's just one of those full circle things. But I got to really see and observe, my seeds of thought dispersing, out in front of my very eyes. very rapidly, and I'm so grateful for that moment, and the moments I was presented with today, um, because I was very present for it. I'm present every day, but it's just, I was just kind of sitting there for a hot minute, just like I wanted to leave, and not as much as I usually did, but it was just like, just kind of, I really just wanted to, you know, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I knew that this morning I just wanted to take a nap, and something else, Spirit came in, and Spirit team, and there was one of those I have your back situations. There's an item that was left that was very significant. So there was a lot of signs coming, from Mother Earth, the universe, God, angels, all the things that have really assisted me and guided me through this, spiritual awakening, and I'm very grateful for that, and all of that existing in my life, because I probably could have, but I wouldn't be doing too great, without it, at this level, even though I made it through uh, without a lot of guidance before. Like I said, I've had to train my own spirit guides, but now, my spirit team and I, and all involved, that we're all speaking the same language now, but there's still some of those days where, it's like, it's just going to be so much easier to, say those things in person, and instead of this very remote like situation, um, as great as it's been, but there's still just that community. Is kind of like, you go to church on a Sunday, and or whatever day you go to church, and then you got that whole week, and then you get to come back for fellowship. And I don't know how other people viewed that, but when I was little, I was younger, I was doing missionary work and all that stuff. I was like, I just couldn't wait um, for those days, because it made me feel like I belonged, even though sometimes I didn't feel like I belonged. But it just made me feel purposeful. And so, it's that fellowship part that really brings all this like together, that feels really nice, and it's a sense of belonging, and a sense of family, the family that I personally, been searching for so long, but it's like they've been there, but we all just weren't on the same, using the same dialogue, or we weren't talking to each other, the way we needed to be talking to each other. And um, some of the situations were like this gossiping, hazing like thing, and some people try to disguise that as, initiation, some other things, and I'm like, there's a different way to go about all that too. But it was just very nice to see all that happen. And I mean, my freaking my back was lit up. The area where I have the spot that I said, that's where God's gonna put my wings. Um, when they get out the shop. But I was just like, I was just feeling that cool touch on there, and it was like, I really felt that I have your back. I got your six, and that felt really nice. And I haven't felt that sensation in that way yet. And so it was really like, instead of just kind of picking up on it here and there, it's like I really got to feel that today. And that was that it was very much a twin flame feeling. And then at the same time, it was like it was going from my back, to my heart. And that felt really nice as well, because it was like, it was just it was so powerful feeling, and it was a lot of energy, but it was really good feeling. It was just like everything was just feeling just so uh, cool and calm while I'm like signed signals and just synchronous, like all this stuff is just coming, and I'm just sitting there just seeing it all unfold in such a beautiful way. And that's how you know where you're at as a leader, is when you get to really see stuff like that and see it and feel it. You don't always get to just touch it, but I like shiny things, so I have to keep my hands. I'm not that bad as I used to be. I used to be really bad, but not like in a bad way. I just if it was shiny, sometimes I just had to touch it if it was at the store or something. But gotten better. But be able to see and feel all that, it was and I've sent out a lot of energetic messages, telepathic messages, and it was like I really felt like my twin flame was there. And I feel like that usually most days, but today was one of those days where it's like the stuff is, look what you did, look what you've done. There wasn't a lot of like good jobs in there, but it was just like, I try to find all the positive in that, even if it just comes across my algorithm or something. But that's how you know you're a true leader. And I haven't really met too many others, even in the military, that have really just, they fall in love with your process. And my twin's been the only one, even though we had our things in the beginning, but because there were more people that were just trying to make me part of another process that just wasn't meant for me anymore, because they didn't quite understand the way my twin flame is, understand and understood like things. Even I know there's times she didn't want to do certain things, but I get it though. Like, I also understand her as well. It's just today was just like a lot, and I kept hearing this and getting these downloads and these things just coming up, just saying I'm coming in, like even songs that I would never listen to just coming up in the algorithm, just like I'm coming in. And I'm just like, I'm expecting to see some physical individual, but I knew that there was a part that still needed to be seen from just me being present alone by myself, but not like just in that moment, and I'm watching everything unfold like it's a movie or something. But try not to like have that mentality, because I have a weird thing about that as well. But it's just, when it comes to self-development, to me personally, and I feel like this is something that should be talked about more in the industry, is like when you really get to see the seeds that you've energetically created, and that your thoughts and your actions and your manifestations. And like, I really wasn't going for a lot, but I knew I was supposed to be in an area, as much as I didn't want to be there, because like I said, I've felt like I've been in, just energetically been torn between two different places, and well, it got narrowed down to two places, but it was more than that before. Like, across the globe is really where I started, And that's when I realized, how much crap was going on that I didn't know that, my twin even didn't really know completely how far my reach was when it came to my electromagnetic current, and which is weird because most people are like, I just want to reach everything, and it's like, I kind of already did that. Now I'm like, I'm just ready to retire and just keep it on this thing, and we can reevaluate, go through the whole, SSRP system that I've made. But it's just like, today was a very beautiful day, even though it started out kind of, but I woke up to freaking, sometimes it'll just be like these little sounds that happen, my vehicle or wherever, and, but today there was just like people, mowing the doggone lawn, getting close to, the vehicle. I'm just like, I just want to sleep more because I'm just so freaking tired because I don't sleep well. Like, I just move around a lot, and I just can't get comfortable, where I'm sleeping at, and because I still have that feeling like I'm not supposed to be in that area, like, or in the, in the situation, I'm in right now, or, above right now, but just obviously physically still present in it. And so I wake up, and then I'm still tired, but it was like all the things were going on right as soon as I opened my eyes. And I mean, the crows were trying to come in. I had to roll up a window, and I'm just like, what is going on outside? And I mean, they're just flocked all around, even with all the lawn stuff going. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just so much right now. But and then I leave the area because I'm like, okay, fine, I'm leaving. And like Mother Nature's calling, telling me to leave and whatever. So like, all right, not like what usually people say when Mother Nature's calling, but it was like just literally birds going off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this hasn't happened before. So I'm like, all right, it's new. Like, obviously we're already in a new pattern, and so then I go to where I usually go, and I'm there, and that other situation presents itself. I'm like, I just want to go back to sleep. And there's some movement sounds being made around me that were they were super loud today, and like some of them were different because I'm used to just, that's like that superpower of ADHD, is like you'll pick up on everything. But it was all very different today. And then I was like, oh my gosh, please don't let this other thing. And then I'm like, I really just wanted to freaking pass out, but someone was like, you better stay awake. So I did. I'm like, if something will happen in the next couple minutes, like I'm gonna really meditate myself into a sleep. And it happened. And then I was like, all right, well, that happened. And I was like, we'll get up and we'll, do some little house cleaning, and kind of, a little, I guess, kind of ritualistic cleaning, and then we'll go about our day, and we'll just go do what we usually do, and pop up in that other location. And so I did. And then I was thinking this other thing was going to happen, but I already energetically had this conversation, and all I needed to do was just tell that individual, like, you are spiritually gifted. And then, like, that was it. And like I said, I was received well, and then everything of that situation just dissipated. And it was like it was like one of those things that happened during, because I'm like, now I know the struggle that others were having when they were when some of them could have been wanting to tell me, but it was still just to know that I was able to actually achieve that. above, the horn just went off when I said that, above the people that outranked me in most situations. Like, I'm not the type to compete, but just to know that I was able to achieve that, to say that to somebody, and it's not really something many can say. I've had one person literally say it, but there's still some debate on whether or not that was that individual or if that was my twin flame. Now a car alarm's going off. Because there was the same frequency thing there, but and that person says they don't remember saying that to me, but I remember that. I remember it. But they told me I was a clairvoyant, and when you're spiritually gifted, it's way beyond clairvoyance, and it it's an angelic kind of energy. But if you're doing it with the good intentions, if you're not looking and programming your subconscious with the dark stuff, what in heaven's earth? That was so weird. But this is one of those examples of like how my day's been, just like random, rapid movement. The R&R, but not rest and relaxation. It's the rapid and random. But I'm grateful for it. But yeah, so I was making a little note saying like, now I know, even though I was constantly trying to, I didn't really understand what was going on at the time, but somehow I knew something, but I didn't even understand that at the time either. But it was like, now I know why I kept getting called into a certain location, with my twin, because it was like she kept wanting to tell me, thinking I was going to pick up on it, but she didn't quite see the whole scope of what was going on, other than what I would tell her. But she didn't talk much, and I'm pretty sure after this she'll probably talk a lot more, but and I'll be the one not talking as much, because I've done a lot of that, but more than I'm even used to as a medium. But it was just, I made note, and I was like, now I know, what you're trying to, one of the things you're trying to tell me, but it's like she just didn't have the words, and sometimes that happens. It's an ADD, ADHD thing, and I really think it's a human thing, but it's supposed to be harder for some of us, but some of us will just come out and we'll be like, we're the real ones, and we're just gonna say it. But that's why when I first get that nudge, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it, because I already know if I just let it set too long. So like, when I do, I do, and when I don't, there's a doggone reason why I didn't. And I'm grateful that I've been able to handle, my diagnosis and all that, and handle myself with a lot of grace in it, even though it wasn't something I want people to know, but that was more just because of the medication I would have to take, I take for that, and there are people around me that, they weren't great, and I didn't want to put myself in a situation where just not in a good situation. So, I didn't really, that was the main reason why I didn't tell a lot of people about what I have. I just didn't want to be dealing with a bunch of fiends. That's just what it was. But yeah, I really, you know, got to kind of, I really made note of that though, because I was like, I knew that there was something, but she couldn't quite get it out. And I'm like, I get it. Like, we both got the same kind of thing. I mean, we're different in our ways, but I mean, like, when it comes to that, I mean, like, I get it. Like, but I'm like that opposite, where I'm like, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. And it's like, but I know that she's also like that, but she's not as open with it, perhaps, or maybe she just wasn't with me because it's an energy thing, because that was what I was experiencing with this other female. Is it was very weird, because it was very much one of those weird mirroring situations, and then there was something else trying to come through, trying to make me think that this is what this is going to be with this individual. And I'm like, I already know, who's meant for me, and I put in so much work that no one can take that away from me, or my twin. And so when the situation came up, and there was some negative energy trying to really convince me of something I already know, and try to use the narrative, this is your new beginning, and that really pissed me off in a way. But I didn't react. I mean, this is just me telling you about it. It's not really, I guess it's kind of a reaction, but it's not really like in a negative way. It's just like me creating awareness. Like, this is something, I don't know if any other people and souls on the twin flame journey have, um, maybe you're going through this, maybe you haven't seen this yet, or maybe it's something that's about the whatever. But that happened to me, and that's what the situation was. Even though I knew what it really was, and I was seeing through all the BS, but it was still just, like, and it wasn't like the negative energy was mad about it, but they just trying to be, they thought it was funny, and I'm like, that ain't funny. But I'm gonna embrace my situation, and just like all the other things, um, it just, my twin was there to help me, and spirit team and all them, because I know that when we started getting really on the same language, that they really sort of have my back on a lot of things, with the situation that's been coming up. And there's been individuals that are in that fiend energy that were trying to come around, and they're demons, and they are just unconsciously living and trying to come into my environment. And you know God, the universe, spirit team, put those, um, the right ones, um, you know in my pathway to, you know help me combat that. And that was very nice. And to give out all those signals, and all that. Even so, some of them I didn't quite uh, like the thing, but I seen what was going on, and I was present for it. But um, when certain people come in with their demons, you don't always know. And like, that was something hard for me to learn too, because being a leader, it's like, I just feel like I can help anyone, and I really can. But there comes a point, because I notice there's things like when people take on leadership roles, is like they'll be in this, it's like, you went and did this, but now you're a leader, and now you're just above all that. And that was something I seen people that would get like college degrees and things like that. And like, even though I got mine, but I'm like, you know, I still had to experience it to have empathy on it, because I'll tell you, it was one of those things where it was like, you can never take away experience, and it's just something you can't do. Even Elon Musk has said stuff where you don't have to have a PhD to change the doggone world. I mean, there are people that have been homeless, people that have changed the world. You know, like there's just, you just don't ever know what's inside an individual. Only they can know that, and that's why I'm really big on like trying to get people to really feel themselves, and especially when we're talking about transhumanism and all these things going on. I'm like, that's just a little sector. I mean, it's not even the whole thing, but it's like, you know, I kind of forgot where I was going with it, but when it came to my leadership development, it was just, you know, I got to see all the different things, and there were people that got jealous of how rapidly it was happening, and you know, I was just like, they didn't realize how far behind people were trying to keep me until the energy shifted, and it shifted so hard that I don't even know if we can call it a pivot. It was literally like a lot of quantum leaps, a lot of quantum jumps, quantum bounding. It was like all these things rapidly, and I try to do it with grace, you know, but it was like, but coming into leadership and the things that I, you know, get to be a part of now, or be to, not of, but to, you know, I was willing to go through the fires I needed to go through to get to that point, and I really wish I knew where I left off on that one, but oh well, is what it is. But it's not like I'm coming into things where I'm just like, I just got a degree in this, and I don't like, I'm coming in with all this whatever, and like, no, I literally experienced it, and I posted something one day about, you know, about the science questions and scientific, you know, methodologies and all these things. And in the beginning, I was very much like that, so I subconsciously programmed myself that way. And I was like, well, that's usually how I did things, just unconsciously, because everyone really does that, but it's just once you learn that in school. But I kind of stayed with it in a way, but I just didn't like that method, and so I tried to make it my own method, obviously. So it wouldn't be me if I didn't do things like that. You know, creator energy all the time, but it was just, you know, when you take on those leadership roles, it's like, I feel like the industry is really going to start changing, because they're looking for more leaders like myself who have, you know, been through that, and I proved to a lot of, you know, CFO, CEOs, and whatever else. Like, it's not about getting that college degree. Like, if you need to extend the learning a little bit, but a lot of that stuff is all online. Like I said, I went to college, all my stuff was online, but the things that I would see were outdated pieces of information, and I already doggone read the more updated pieces of information. The things I did learn in college, or the pieces I was given in college, were just, they were just rabbit holes to me self-developing more. And so, you know, I was already doing things like that before I even went to college. And there were people that used to ask me, you know, what'd you get your degree, and did you go to college or whatever? I'm like, no, I haven't. I ain't done none of that stuff. And, you know, they're always like, well, how do you? I'm like, I read. I just read. Like, you know, if I feel like I need to read it, I'll read it, you know. And there's some things that I read that I just didn't really want to read, but I knew that there was a purpose behind it. So I read with a purpose. I don't just lead with a purpose. I don't just live with a purpose. I also read with a purpose. And that's another thing that, you know, a gap filler is like reading with a purpose. It's not just, I go to school and I have to read this. It's like, you know, just if your soul's going to tell you what you need to read, you know, and also being a spiritual reader as well, like it was just in having you know, psychometry and all these other things, it's just an automatic writing and those gifts. It's I think that's just a good spot to stop right there. So thank you for listening, and until next time.